which supports cities in fostering inclusive growth and sustainable development. So the topic that we are going to be engaging around today is community listening and community engagement. And I'm sure that this topic is very familiar to some of our participants today, but it also might be new to some participants. So let's begin our session with a very quick poll to understand whether you've heard of this term community listening and community engagement, and if you've applied it in your city. Samira, would you be able to launch the poll, please? Okay, you should be able to see a poll now. The first question asks if you have engaged with communities in your city using any of the methods that have been listed there. So citizen surveys or town hall meetings through maybe social media or engagement through a website or any other. And maybe you have not used any of these methods or any form of community engagement, but do let us know so we can get a sense of the room. We also have a second question asking if you've heard or used of community listening in your city in the past. Great. I'm seeing that social media or website engagement is very popular. So many cities have engaged using that. And I also see that a large majority of our room today has heard of or used community listening in the city, which is great to hear. So this session should hopefully be more enriching given our speakers. Thank you so much for engaging in this poll. And let's move on. So we saw that very many of you have heard of the term community listening or have tried it in your city. And today we're going to speak a little more about this. And on this topic, we're going to discuss what we value in this process and also why we are talking about this topic now. So more than ever now, the strengths of our cities and societies are depending on social connections, on trust, or of ties in the community. And UNDP's Human Development Report has highlighted that preserving people's sense of trust and community is very important at a time when there is high polarization or segregation between communities in our cities. Many local governments, just as we saw in the poll today, are already engaging and fostering communication with citizens so that they are able to strengthen the sense of community in the city. And community listening, this process actually takes engagement to the next stage and fosters participation and helps unlock the hidden potential that communities can have in shaping and taking care of their cities. So the value of community listening in our experience has been plentiful. And we've seen that it has a potential to create services that have buy-in and care from the communities, as well as shaping the direction of sustainable development in the city. So today we bring to you three distinguished speakers with very diverse cases from across the region who will be shedding more light on this value of community listening. We'll start with a presentation from Justina Linke, a foresight and systems transformation specialist. And then we will have a presentation from Dr. Yulia Kuzmenko, who's the head of the Department of International Relations and Investment Activities of the Executive Committee of Nizhyn Municipality in Ukraine. And last, we will have a presentation by Ravaz Barbakadze, the chairman of Rustavi Innovation Hub in Georgia. As our speakers will be presenting, I also encourage you to leave any questions that might come up on the chat so that we can take it later in our Q&A session. After our presenters finish their presentations, we will also have the launch of the Community Listening and Practice course. And on that note, I give the floor to Justina Linke to take over with your presentation.
Thank you so much, Shreya. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you all. There are so many familiar faces. It gives me even more joy to be here with you today. As Shreya mentioned, I'll have the opportunity to maybe set the stage for us in terms of what community listening can bring us. Why would we engage in such an activity, so that then the cases that you listen to can also give you some more examples to the theoretical or semi-theoretical framework. Next slide, please. And so let's begin with this scene or story, if you will, that I would request you to imagine. Think about your neighborhood, the one that you live in. Imagine that your city has been given some additional funds. I know that pretty much nowhere in the world that is a frequent occurrence, but still imagine that the municipality has some additional funds. And thanks to these funds, they decide to reorganize your neighborhood in a significant way. There are some new utilities, but also the way in which you can drive through your neighborhood changes, the way that, in which you can use your neighborhood changes. There are some more limitations that are imposed on your everyday life. And it all happens without your input. It all happens without the municipality asking about your needs and the way in which you are using the neighborhood. Now, how does that feel? I mean, naturally, for anybody in the room, being in a situation when a decision is made for you without you is uncomfortable, right? In social psychology, there's even a term for it. When we are being pushed in a situation in which we have no choice, we react by protesting, and I'll be coming back to it in a bit more detail later on. So naturally, the situation causes friction immediately, right? I don't know if any of you are fans of political philosophy or philosophy at all, but for those of you who are, you might remember that Epictetus at some point said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? It's to listen more and talk a bit less. And I think when we talk about community listening, we might pretty much refer to that notion as a way of governing. Listen twice as much as you talk, right? Next slide, please. And so with community listening, we sometimes think that it's innovation. We sometimes think that it's something new, something hip, something that others are doing, so we might be doing this as well. But when we think about it, and when we talk in depth about what that actually means, it is far from innovation, right? It's something that should be the backbone of good governance in your municipalities, in any municipality. It shouldn't be treated as something that is novel or something that is an addition. It should be treated as the very basic step that we're taking when we're making a decision, be that a decision that refers to the entire city or a decision that refers to just a part of it or one aspect of the community life. And it's not even a new idea. Next slide, please. I'll give you an example from my own backyard, if you will. I'm from Poland, and one of the things that we are being taught in history lessons is that in 1505, so quite a long time ago, we had a constitution that was called Nihil Novi, that pretty much said, you will not make any decision about us without us, right? And so this notion, I'm sure it's familiar in any corner of our region. We've had that at many stages of our history. And so from that perspective, what might be innovative in deep listening or community listening, however we refer to it, is the tools that we're using. In the poll that Shreya has shared with you, many of you ticked the box with the social media ways of engagement, or using websites, digital tools as ways in which you're engaging with the community. And that can be innovative. And I'm sure there are many examples that you yourselves can share of ways in which you've been conducting community listening by embracing some innovative tools. But in principle, I think the core argument and the core reason we're doing it is as old as times. If we want to really engage with people, and if we want to bring them together, we have to be listening. Next slide, please. And so with that, I wanted to show you or make 3 points that in a way build the case for community listening. As you might know, the level of trust between citizens and the public administration, the authority, quote unquote, is at an all-time low. It's very low in many parts of our region, but also across the world. And people are even at the point when they start trusting companies more than they trust public authorities, which is something that we haven't seen in quite a long time, if ever. And there's a fantastic report from the Edelman, called the Edelman Trust Barometer, that shows how much the authority is declining in terms of trust. Now, community listening is a way for us to rebuild that trust. It's a set of methods and tools that allow you to build dialogue with your local community, show that you listen twice as much as you talk, and really regain that connection. So that's a very strong and practical argument for engaging in community listening. Next slide, please. Now, second one is the one that I already mentioned in the introduction. When we push people into a corner, when we create a situation in which they are forbidden from doing something, it seems like they have no choice, the natural reaction for us is to resist or to do the contrary, as you can see on the slide. So in a situation in which you're creating a new policy, you want to encourage the community to do something that would be beneficial for the community, for the city, for the individuals in the community. The way to engage them is always through dialogue, very rarely through just new rules or policies. You need to listen and you need to understand how they see the topic so that they're really able to engage. So your efficiency, your effectiveness in implementing new policies and getting people engaged and on board very heavily depends on how well you manage to hear them out, hear the community out, and get them on the same page with you. And that can only happen through dialogue. Next slide, please. And then finally, something that I think we've seen so many times, we tend to create new solutions, design new solutions based on limited information. Very often the solutions that we design for our communities are fixing what we think is wrong, but that turns out to only be a symptom of a much bigger problem, right? And so without engaging in community listening, you have very limited opportunities to really gather information, to really learn from people, to really understand what is the root of the problem, and then design a solution and be able to actually address the real challenges if they are addressable at all. So from that perspective, it also gives you an edge. It also gives you a way of managing the risks of spending your funds, which are always limited, on something that will not be efficient. And so with that, I would hand over to Julia, I suppose, right, Shreya, for giving us some practical examples of how community listening can be done in a very, very good way. Thank you so much.
Так, вітаю всіх. З вашого дозволу я буду
Good
говорити
afternoon,
українською
ladies and gentlemen.
мовою.
I'm going to speak
І
Ukrainian.
хотіла б представити
Let me
досвід наш
share
Ніжинської громади
the experience of
в
Nizhyn
власне проведенні
community
такого
in
важливого, впровадженні такого
organizing
важливого
and
інструменту,
introducing a very
як
important
соціальне або
tool
громадське
that is
вислуховування.
called social
Власне, наша історія
listening.
почалася
The story goes back
восени
to
2022
autumn
року, коли ми
2022
дізналися про
when
те,
we
що із
learned
153
that
громад, які
out
взяли
of
участь у конкурсі,
153 communities that
мережа економічного
participated in the
зростання, наша
call
громада,
Mayors
Ніжинська
for Economic
громада,
Growth,
війшла
our
у
community,
13
nation
число переможців,
community,
13
was
переможців
among the
в Україні.
17
І ми
winners of the
почали
contest in
приступили
Ukraine.
до
And we
наступного компоненту в
moved
межах
over to the
цього
next
проекту, такий як
stage,
навчальний спринт. Ну, в
that's
першу чергу,
learning
хотіла б сказати про
stage.
ідею, в чому
And
сутність
let
ідея
me
ж
just
нашого проекту
tell you
полягала. Це
briefly about the idea
у
of our
створення
project.
умов для
What we
працевлаштування
wanted
та
is just to create
соціально-психологічної адаптації внутрішньо переміщених осіб
jobs
шляхом створення
as well
виробництва спожиття
condition
одягу на базі
for
комунального
social
підприємства в Ніжинській громаді.
adaptation of
Безумовно,
IDPs.
в
And
22-му
we
році ми
decided
всі
to set
чудово
up a sewing
розуміли,
plant in
що
our community.
люди,
Back
які
then, in
потрапляють з наслідок
2022, we
воєнних
had
дій
a
до нашої
clear
громади, вони
understanding that
потребують
people who happen to be in
великої
our community,
допомоги,
those people who
не
are
лише
fleeing the war,
психологічної, але й
were in
першу
need
чергу
not only of a
економічної. Вони потребують
psychological assistance, but economic
адаптації,
support as well.
в
They
першу
had
чергу
to
економічної
get
адаптації
adapted
в наших
economically
громадах. А
in
відтак
the
ми
host community,
маємо
in our
постаратися,
community.
щоб створити для них
Therefore,
робочі
we had
місця.
to create some
Наступний
jobs
слайд,
for
будь
them.
ласка.
Next slide.
Власне, після того, як наша громада отримала
When our
інформацію про перемогу
community
в цьому грантовому конкурсі,
learned that we
ми
won
приступили до
the
освоєння
contest
основ
and we received the grant, we started learning the
соціального
basics
або громадського
of
вислуховування і
community
стали
or social
слухачами
listening and
навчального спринту.
signed in
Під час
for
цього
the
навчального спринту команда
learning
UNDP
course, that's learning
розказала
sprint.
нам про такі
UNDP
інструменти, як
shared
соціальне
the
дослуховування або
information about
громадське
different
дослуховування.
tools,
Для нас,
and
в
one of them
принципі,
is
це
social listening or
була
community
нова
listening.
інформація. До
That was
цього ми в
a brand
основному
new scene for
використовували
us. Prior
інші
to
методи,
that,
такі,
we
наприклад, як
employed different other methods, such as,
соціологічне
for
опитування,
instance,
яке було для нас більш звичайним.
surveys.
Тут же ми
That
мали
was more customary
справу
for us
із
to do
таргетованою
that.
групою, з дуже вузькою
In this
групою
instance, we had
внутрішньо
to deal
переміщених
with a
осіб,
narrow
з
category
якою
of
треба було
IDPs, a
прокомунікувати для
targeted
того, щоб
group that
зрозуміти, наскільки
was
наша
in need of
гіпотеза,
proper
яку
communication
ми
for
висунули, коли
us to
писали проектну
understand
заявку, була
whether the
правильною.
project and the
І чи
idea behind
можливо
the
вона
project
потребує певних
was a
коректив.
working one for
Під
them. And
чітким
maybe we had to
керівництвом команди
adjust that.
UNDP
Under
ми
the leadership of
розробили
UNDP
опитувальник для того,
experts,
щоб
we developed the
провести розмову
questionnaire
із
to
внутрішньо переміщеними
discuss
особами,
this with
які потенційно
IDPs
можуть
in
стати
our
працівниками
community that
нашого
could
швейного виробництва і
potentially
отримати
work at this
робоче місце, а також
sewing
психологічну та соціальну
plant,
підтримку.
and thus they would have a
Як це
job and social
організовувалось? Будь ласка,
support
наступний
as a
слайд.
result of implementation of the
Власне,
project.
ми
Here is how it
комунікували,
was all organized.
налагодили відносини із
We
Центром соціальних служб,
entered
які безпосередньо
into communication with
працюють
social
із внутрішньо
service
переміщеними
in a
особами.
country. They are directly
Також
working with
із
the IDPs.
Центром зайнятості
We got in touch
і
with the
залучили також громадські
employment
організації,
center
які
and
допомагали
engage
в
the
той час
civil society
внутрішньо
organizations
переміщеним
that
особам.
were
Тому
involved in
що
providing all sorts of
дуже
assistance
часто
to IDPs.
люди, тікаючи від
Very
війни, просто
often
нічого не
people
мали
that
приїхали в нашу громаду
came to
з
our
невеликим
community didn't
рюкзаком,
have anything but
і
a
побували
small
без житла, без
backpack.
харчів, без
They didn't
місця
have a
роботи і
house
так
to
далі.
stay. They
І
didn't have
такими людьми
any
дуже
food. They
сильно
didn't have any
відгукнулися
job,
органи місцевого
any means
самоврядування,
to
але й
live
громадські
on. And it
організації.
wasn't
Отже,
only
ми
our
зібрали
municipality, but also
інформацію,
NGOs that took care of
як
these
від
people.
органів місцевого
So
самоврядування, так
we
і
got in
від
touch with civil society
громадських організацій, щоб
organizations
таких людей
uh,
і організували
because they had their
громадське
data on
дослідження.
them. And
Наступний слайд, будь ласка.
well, based on all this, we organized a social listening.
Так. Я не бачу наступного слайду.
Next slide, please.
Так, да, дякую.
Thank you.
Власне, під час громадського дослуховування,
In the course
яке
of
було організовано працівниками нашого
community
відділу,
listening, and
ми
that was
опитали
organized by
7
our
представників
department,
внутрішньо переміщених
we
осіб,
talked
які
to 7 representatives of
зголосилися до нас
IDPs,
прийти.
those who volunteered to come
Спершу
for the
провели
meeting.
таке
Initially,
невеличке
we
анкетування, чи
just
цікаво взагалі поділитися
had
своєю
some kind of,
історією, спілкуватися з
questionnaire for
представниками
them to fill
органів
out whether
місцевого
they were
самоврядування в
interested in
телефонному режимі. І ті
communicating
люди,
with
які зголосилися,
municipality
прийшли до
representatives
нас,
that was on the
розповіли свою
phone call.
історію, дали
And those
відповіді
people who
на
agreed to
весь
come
перелік
came
наших
for the
запитань.
meeting
Всі
and
ці
shared their
відповіді були
stories. They
ретельно
answered to the
записані,
list of
а
questions
потім
that we had. We took a very good
наш
note
відділ
of all
організував
the
таке,
answers, and then our
такий
department
собі аналітичний штурм цих відповідей для того, щоб зрозуміти,
analyzed
наскільки
these
правильно
answers. That
ми
was a kind of a
змогли подати
brainstorming that we
нашу
had for us to
концепцію,
get
нашу
a
ідею
better
у проектній
idea
заявці. І чи
whether
потребує
the
наша проектна
project
заявка
was meeting
певних
their needs
коректив?
and whether the
Наступний
project
слайд, будь
needed
ласка.
any adjustment or adaptation to their needs. Next slide, please.
Результатами
As a
громадського
result
дослуховування стало
of
те, що ми
social
переконалися,
listening,
що наша
we
гіпотеза була
learned that
правильною. І ми абсолютно правильно
the
зрозуміли, що
idea
внутрішньо
behind the
переміщені
project was
особи
right. We
найбільше потребують робочих місць,
realized
приміщення,
that
і
IDPs
вони потенційно можуть
needs jobs
залишитися
the
в нашій
most in
громаді, якщо
Nizhyn,
у них будуть
and they could
робочі місця,
stay in our
достойна заробітна
community if
плата,
they have a
і вони
job and
зможуть
a good
не
salary to support
переселятися,
them.
наприклад, до
And
Києва чи
then
до
they wouldn't
будь-яких
be
інших міст,
interested in
і цей
relocating
соціальний
to a
капітал
larger
залишиться
city, to
у
Kyiv,
нашій
and
громаді.
they will
Крім
stay
того, ми
in our
з'ясували, що
community, and that's going to be uh,
трагедія, яка
new
в житті
human
багатьох
resources
мешканців
that we
відбулася з
would
початком
get.
повномасштабного
The
вторгнення,
tragedy of
наклала дуже
the
великий психологічний
aggressive
відбиток
war
і
had a
породила
serious
психологічні проблеми.
impact on
Це
people.
тригери,
They were
життєві
seriously
кризи
affected
і
by
так
them,
далі,
and
які були
that
пов'язані
led to
саме з цими травматичними
psychological
подіями. І
consequences
ясно
linked
стало
to
також і
traumatic
те,
events of
що
the
треба
war.
допомогти
We also
і подолати ці психологічні
learned
проблеми
that
внутрішньо переміщеним
we
особам,
had
які
to
потрапили до
provide
нашої громади.
psychological support
Наступний
to
слайд,
deal
будь
with
ласка.
these psychological triggers that people had. Next slide, please.
Отже, які основні
So,
моменти
what are
ми
the
зрозуміли в
main
результаті
takeaway
громадського
messages that we had
дослуховування
as a
і
result of
потім
social
поклали їх в
listening
основу нашої
conducted in our
практичної
community, and that
діяльності?
actually served as
По-перше,
the
це
basis for our
необхідність
practical
створення
work? The first thing
нових
is
робочих місць і забезпечення внутрішньо
necessity of
переміщених
creating
осіб
new jobs,
гарною
and
зарплатою.
this should be the jobs that would
Другий момент
give a good salary
це
to the IDPs. The second
необхідність
important
забезпечити професійне
thing
навчання
is
і тренінг
the
з пошукового
professional
одягу,
training
адже дуже
that
велика
people
кількість
needed
жінок,
when it
які
comes
виявили
to
бажання
garment
отримати
production. A lot of women
роботу на
that
новому
were
виробництві,
interested
не
in
були до
getting
цього
a job
швеями і взагалі не
at
мали
a
ніякого
new
відношення до
plant
швейської справи.
had
А
nothing
відтак
to
треба
do
було
with
спершу
sewing
навчити цих
before, and
жінок
we had to
працювати
train
із
them first
обладнанням. І
how to
третій
work with
важливий
the
момент це те,
equipment,
що
etc. And the third
жінки,
important
яких ми
thing that we
опитали,
learned is
всі
that
в один голос
women that
сказали, що
we
вони
talked to
потребують психологічних
said that
тренінгів,
they needed
занять з
psychological
психологом і
counseling
також підтримки
and support
соціального
of a
працівника.
psychologist and social worker.
Наступний слайд.
That was a unanimous kind of a
Власне,
statement that we heard
просимо
from
наступний
them.
слайд.
Next slide.
Про те, як ми імплементували цей
That's
проєкт в життя.
how we
Отже,
implemented the
виходячи із
project.
результатів
Based on the
дослуховування, ми
results of social listening, we started renovating and refurbishing the premises. That was an abandoned school, and nothing was happening there for several years. That was really an abandoned building, and we got the IDPs actively engaged in all this renovation. So women volunteered to do this work, and that was really an important element of the entire project, because people
в майбутньому це може стати їхньою
realized
вони
that,
вкладали
okay,
душу
so
у справу
that's
облаштування цього
potentially could
приміщення,
be the place of their
старалися,
work,
працювали, не
and
покладаючи рук,
they
на волонтерських
did their
засадах, не
best
отримуючи
as
на цьому
volunteers
етапі
to make sure
ніякої
that it looks good.
заробітної
They
платні. Але
didn't have
окрім ще
any
відбувався
pay at
певний
this
такий
stage,
тімбілдинг,
but
тобто
that
вони
was also
між
an
собою
element of team
знайомилися,
building. So they had a chance
комунікували,
to meet, to
зароджувалися такі
talk,
соціальні
to
зв'язки і так далі. І це також сприяло
make
соціальній адаптації
friends,
внутрішньо
and that
переміщених осіб.
contributed to
Наступний слайд,
social
будь ласка.
adaptation of IDPs as well. Next slide, please.
Крім облаштування приміщення, наступний
Apart
пункт
from
важливий для виконання
renovating
було
these
навчити жінок
premises,
працювати із
we had
обладнанням
to
мистецтва. І тому
train
нашим
women
завданням
to
була організація навчального
use this equipment.
виробничого
So
навчання для
we
того, щоб
organized
навчити
professional training for them so
жінок,
that
які прийшли до
they
нас
could
на новостворче
learn
виробництво,
how
основним
to
навичкам. І, власне,
use
дівчата
equipment
прослухали
and
такий курс
learn
тривалістю 2
basic
тижні, впродовж
skills.
якого
That was
вони
a 2-week
навчалися
course that we
виготовляти
organized for them,
одяг,
and
шити,
ladies
поїти,
learned
моделювати
to
одяг і так далі.
design
Наступний слайд.
garments, to sew. Next slide, please.
Крім того, відповідно до запиту жінок,
According to
ми
the
організували
requirements and
психологічні
needs of the
тренінги
women, we organized
і
psychological
забезпечили супровід
trainings
соціальних
and
працівників.
provided
Під
for
час
support
цих
by
занять
social
жінки
workers.
могли як
During
індивідуально
those
отримати консультацію
training
від
sessions,
психолога, так і
women could
працювати в групах.
have
Це були
individual
такі
consultations,
тренінги
advice
спрямовані
from the
на
psychologist,
формування
and
команди,
also work in
на
groups. That was focused on
позбавлення
team
від наслідків
building
стресу. Це
and
були методи
relieving
арт-терапії.
stress.
Ви можете побачити на лівому
Art therapy methods
зображенні
were used, as you can see
роботи,
on the
які під час
left.
заняття з
These are
арт-терапевтом
drawings
робили
that were
наші
developed, made
дівчата. І ці
by
роботи
our
прикрасили
girls,
приміщення
women, when
новоствореного
working with
вченого
the art
виробництва.
therapy. And then they decorated
Наступний
with these
слайд, будь ласка.
drawings the new premises of the sewing facility. Next.
Перед тим, як я розкажу про постпроектний
And
період,
before
я б ще
I
хотіла
speak
зазначити,
about
що по великому
post-project
рахунку
period,
оце
I would
громадське
like to
дослуховування,
note that basically,
ні, назад поверніться, будь
let's
ласка. Це
go
громадське
back.
дослуховування, воно,
So community listening,
як сказати, не припиняється впродовж цього проєкту,
it
адже ми
never stops
намагалися
in the
дослухатися
course
до
of the
думки
project
жінок, до
because
їхніх
we have
потреб
tried to
і
hear
реагувати
the
на їхні
ideas, opinions, and
запити.
needs of the
Ми,
women and respond to
наша
their requests.
команда, це психологи,
Our
соціальні
team, these
працівники,
are
під час
psychologists, social
тренінгових занять
workers, during
активно
the trainings and activities,
намагалися
they
зрозуміти,
actively
як
try
же
to
бачать майбутнє
understand
своє в межах цього
what's
виробництва
the
жінки і
vision of
облаштувати
the
приміщення
future
таким чином,
for these
і
women in the
забезпечити
framework
такі
of this
активності,
production
які
facility.
відповідають
So they
потребам
try
наших
to arrange the premises in
учасниць.
such way and provide
А
for the services and
власне,
needs
вже
of our participants.
9 квітня
And then on
2024
the
року
9th of April this
відбулося
year,
урочисте відкриття
we had the
швейного
official
виробництва в
launch
Ніжині. І
ceremony
от
for
ви
the sewing
бачите на
factory in Nizhyn.
фото,
And you
що
can
доволі
see
в
the
урочистій
photo
атмосфері це
that it was
відбувалося
quite a
із залученням
festive
доволі
event
великих
and a
прошарків
wide
суспільства. Це були і
range
представники
of
бізнесу
various
із
population categories
всього
were involved,
регіону,
businesses
і
from all
представники
over the
UNDP, і
region
органи
here,
місцевого
UNDP
самоврядування, і,
representatives,
безумовно,
local
дівчата,
governments, local
які стали
authorities, and
учасницями
the
проєкту. І взагалі
women
хочу
who
сказати, що цей
were
проєкт
participants of the
об'єднав
project.
абсолютно
Basically,
все
this
суспільство.
project
Тут
helped us bring
настільки
together all
він був
categories of our
всеохоплюючий, що, мабуть,
society, all
можна
the groups.
поставити цей
It
проєкт
was
прикладом
so
як такий, що
comprehensive
дійсно
that it could be a
забезпечує
role model
соціальну згуртованість
because
в
it really
громаді.
provided for social
Наступний слайд.
cohesion in the community. Next.
Про постпроектний період хотіла
Speaking about the
розказати.
post-project activities now,
Проект завершився, але
so
наш
the
досвід
project is over,
використання громадського
but our
дослуховування
experience of
продовжується. Ми цей
using
метод
community
взяли на
listening
озброєння, і
approach
наша
is
громада
ongoing.
продовжує
We are
активно
now using this method,
використовувати
and our
цей метод
community
у
continues
проектному
actively
менеджменті.
using this method in the
Наприклад,
framework of
наступний слайд,
project
будь ласка.
management. For example,
Наприклад,
next,
ми підготували проектну заявку,
we have
яка
prepared a project
стосувалася облаштування
application for
ветеранського простору Незламні.
veteran hub, Nezlamny, invincible, unbreakable.
Коли ми розписували заявку і планували наш
When we
бюджет
were
для того, щоб зрозуміти, які
developing the
потреби у
application and
ветеранів
we're planning
насправді
the budget
існують,
to
ми
understand
також
needs of
організували
the
соціальні
veterans, we
дослуховування.
also
І за
organized a
результатами
community
соціального дослуховування ми
listening session,
зрозуміли, що
and
це не
based on the
повинен
results of
бути
it,
виключно
we
осередок,
realized that
де
it should not be
мають місце лише ветерани. Це
a
повинно
place
бути
where only
місце, де
veterans can
можуть
access
прийти
it.
ветерани
It
разом
should
зі
be a
своєю
hub, a
родиною,
space where veterans
де
can
може
come with
бути
their
дитяча
families,
кімната, в якій
where there may
можуть
be a
перебувати діти під
children's
наглядом
playroom,
вихователя в той
where
час, коли
children would be
тато
with
або
a
мама працює з
tutor,
психологом або
with
соціальним працівником.
a
І
specialist, while
також
father or mother
те, що ми
work with
почули
a
від ветеранів,
psychologist or social
що вони
worker. And
потребують
also we
і
hear it from the veterans that they
спортивного
need some
тренажерного
sports
залу. Адже тренажерний
equipment,
зал
some
дає
gym
можливість також
to be
отримати
arranged,
психологічне
because
розвантаження
that is
через
something
фізичну
that also makes
активність.
it possible for them
І
to feel relieved
оцей виплеск
psychologically when doing some
агресії, певних
psychological
негативних
exercise,
емоцій
because
через
this
спорт
aggression,
дуже
negative
добре
emotions
діє.
can
І
really be
ми, власне,
um,
врахували ці
expressed
потреби ветеранів,
in
які ми
the
почули під
course of
час соціального
intense sports
дослуховування.
activities.
І
We
в
took
нашому
that into
просторі
account, and in our
облаштували
space,
6 кімнат,
we
з них,
arranged 6
власне,
rooms.
ці кімнати – це ті, про
Out of
які
them,
нам говорили
all the
наші
rooms
ветерани під час
were
громадського дослуховування.
arranged
І це дитяча
according to those
кімната,
recommendations that
і
we heard from the
спортивна
veterans.
зала,
I
це
mean,
і
the kids'
маленька
room, a
імпровізована
gym,
кав'ярня, це і
mini
коворкінг-простір,
coffee shop,
і
or
також
working
кімната
space,
психолога і
and
лікаря.
also a room of a
І наступний
psychologist and
слайд.
a lawyer. Next slide.
Ще два проекти, в ході
Two more
яких ми
projects in
використовуємо
the
або
course of
плануємо
which
використати
we
метод
have been using or we
громадського
plan to
дослуховування.
use the community
Це
listening method.
два проекти,
And
спрямовані
these
на
are
підтримку
projects
жінок,
aimed
які
at
постраждали від
supporting
війни,
women who
або
suffered, who were
жінок-ветеранів.
affected by the
Наприклад,
war or
коло підтримки,
veterans.
які фінансуються
For
Українським
example,
жіночим
the
фондом.
Circle of
Межах цього проекту ми
support funded
плануємо
by
створити
Ukrainians
кімнату
Women Fund,
психологічної розгрузки для
Ukrainian
жінок-ветеранів.
Women's Fund.
І
There
другий
will be a
проект
room for
– це
psychological
проект UNDP,
work for
створення
female
простору для
veterans, and
жінок,
UNDP project,
постраждалих від
creating a
війни,
space for women affected by the war,
арт-світлиця або
art
арт-кімната.
room,
Це
art
простір для
світлиця.
арт-терапії.
This is
І
space for
теж
art
ми
therapy. And
або
we
вже
also,
пройшли стадію соціального
so either
дослуховування,
we
або
have
як в
already
другому
completed this
проєкті
social,
UNDP
the community
плануємо
listening project,
провести соціальне дослуховування
or
для того, щоб
we are
зрозуміти,
in the process
які
of it.
потреби саме є у
And we are
жінок
doing that
в
to better
психологічній
understand needs
підтримці,
of the women,
психологічній
their needs
допомозі.
for psychological support.
Ну і, власне, на цьому буду завершувати і
And
дякувати
here
вам
I'm
за
going
увагу.
to
Наступний
end.
слайд, будь
Thank you for
ласка.
your attention.
Хочу
Let's go to the next slide.
сказати всім спасибі і
And
запросити до
thank you so
Ніжинської
much.
громади для того, щоб
I
власне
very
може
much invite
побачити
you to visit
наше
Nizhyn
низькопромислове
community.
виробництво.
You will then see
Як
our
працюють
sewing
дівчата,
facility, how
як
the
ми
women are
забезпечуємо
working,
їм психологічну
how
підтримку
we
і на
provide them
сьогодні
with
і так далі.
psychological
Будемо
support,
раді
and so
бачити
on and
вас.
so forth. We
Дякую
will be
вам.
happy to see you in our city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yulia. Thank you for sharing your experience and reflections. I'd now like to pass the floor to Revaz to take us through his experience with using community listening.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Good afternoon, dear participants. Thank you very much for giving me a chance to make a short presentation about our initiative, what we are making with cooperation with Urban Workshop and with supporting of UNDP. It's about my presentation will be about our project. Know Your Challenge is the name of this project, and I will say very shortly why we decided to implement this initiative and what about it is. During my cooperation with different actors, it does not mean it's CSO or it is initiative groups or even local municipalities. The main issue is that these people who are trying to decide some problems, they don't know and they don't have good tools how to identify this problem. And I saw it in many cases, in many programs, in many proposals, and that's why 1 year ago we started to work on this kind of proposal to create a online tool, a platform which will help to all interesting persons to identify their problems. Next slide, please. What we did for making this process more effective was that we made first of all we made a concept about this platform. And then in the end of May, we made a meeting with potential beneficiaries of this tool in Rustavi. There were representatives of CSOs and local authority, and we showed them, we explained them the concept of this tool, and then we asked them what they want to see in this tool. What we changed many casings in our tool and in our concept. Now, on this stage, we started to create this platform. It's partly is ready. I think that in the end of summer, the test version of this platform will be already ready to use and make a test. And on that stage, we also will have a community listening session with the same actors, and maybe we will add there also the business representatives of business, because on our first meeting, the part of our the part of people who was involved in the process, they said that this tool, this platform will be also useful for people who are making business and who already, who all every day have different kind of problems, and they have to solve this, solve them. The main problem in this process was like that, what Justina already said in her presentations, that people they cannot see why the problems and from which places problems are come. They are seeing only the results of the problems, and very often their works and their ideas are not against the reasons of the problem, but they are against of results of the problem. And that's why we decided to make this kind of tool, and I think that it will be really very useful for CSOs, also for local authorities. The local government of our city is also involving in this process, and we are sure that it will be useful not only for representatives of our city of Rustavi, but also for representatives of other cities. I saw here between our guests who are here today, representatives of different municipalities, and our platform will be open, of course, for them when it will be ready, and all of them can use this platform. And we also, in the process of using, we also will make all the changes, what will be necessary to more effective way to work this tool. That was shortly about our project and about our tool and how we are using community listening with different parts. If you will have any questions about this project or about generally about community listening challenges in Georgia, I'm ready to answer to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ravaz, for sharing your experience with community listening. And as Ravaz said, please feel free to leave any questions that you have for any of our speakers on chat. We will now move to the next segment, which is to launch the course under the Urban Learning Center. And I will give you a quick overview of what you can get out of this course and also a little about the course modules itself. So next slide, please, Samira. This course is available as a PDF toolkit, and it's also available on the SparkBlue platform under the Urban Learning Center. And shortly, you will be able to also find the link to both this PDF version and to the online course. It will be available on your chat in a few minutes. And next slide, please. Just a little more about this course, or what it's about. Firstly, it's about introducing this process of community listening and also how to engage effectively with your community. It has a big emphasis on having diverse stakeholders involved in the process of decision making so that you can better understand community needs and the challenges that exist in the city. Next, please. Also, this course has been designed by taking our experience working with cities and working with communities. So it has a step-by-step guidance, and it also has some very real-world examples from which this course itself is based. Next slide, please. This course helps you with trying to understand how to engage with communities to build trust and also to improve the governance in your city through this process of engagement and participation. It helps also for participants in this process to become catalysts for community transformation in the city. Next slide, please. And lastly, this course has been designed specifically for local authorities and public administrators, but it is also very much accessible and usable to community organizers or NGOs and even our own teams in the UNDP country offices and the regional office. This is because we've taken this from a set of practical and theoretical knowledge so that you're able to apply it in any context where it's relevant. Next slide, please. So this course consists of 5 modules. The first module, as you see here, is just a basic introduction to the course. Next, please, Samira. And the next module introduces you to the process of community engagement. So it will help you understand the value of community engagement and also help you understand what are some common objections to community listening that you might face and how you can address them. Next. The third module helps you understand the basics of what we've been speaking about here, which is community or deep listening. And this helps you take a deep dive into this topic and develop the skills and mindsets that you can obtain basically through practice, but also by going through this course. And it also helps you understand this through stories from the region and how it was used on the ground. Next, please. The fourth module takes a deep dive into the tools and takes you step by step on how to implement the process of community listening. Next, please. And the last module is a conclusion, which also provides you with a resource bank, a set of tools, and also has a link for you to be able to reach out to us in case you would like more hands-on support with implementing this process in your community. Next, please. And with that, we will now move to the Q&A section before we go into the country-related activities. I just want to check with the audience if there are any questions that you would like to ask to any of the speakers. And if not, we can move into the next section. But if you also have questions, you can please put them in on chat and we can take it from there. Please raise your hands if you'd like to speak, or you can also put it on chat. Great, I see a question. Yes, first we have a question from the audience, and then we also have a question on the chat. Over to you, Stanislav.
Yeah, hi, Shreya, thank you. I have a question to Justina, basically. And I wanted to ask Justina about the situations when it's not recommended to use community listening, in your opinion.
Thank you. Thanks, Stanislav, for asking that question. I think there actually can be quite a few instances in which you might want to think twice before you engage in community listening, but they mostly refer to situations in which you either have already made a decision. So your municipality has already decided that you're going to do something, and you have no way of changing that decision or no way of influencing how this policy or investment would go. In that instance, engaging in community listening with the expectation that it influences the decision or the shape of the investment or the policy would actually cause more harm than good, right? Because you begin it with, when you begin that type of an engagement, in a way, what you're communicating is, I'm here to listen to you and then act upon what I've heard, right? And if you have no way of doing that, then you're breaking the trust and you're taking something as an insights, reflections from the community without the ability to actually do something with them because you've already made a choice. So you might still engage in consultations and in discussions, but you need to be super clear that these will impact either the next stages or other aspects of what you're trying to do, but you have to be very, very clear about it. And I think second instance that might be good to look out for is the decision-making level or the mandate that you have in the municipality to do something. Because I've seen situations in which somebody from the technical frontline staff in the municipality would go ahead and conduct consultations without checking in with the management. And if you gather something that requires action, but you haven't checked in with your, I don't know, department leader or your mayor that you can actually discuss that in public, then you might actually cause some trouble. So I would make sure that you are all aligned with your team, with your management, without the municipality about the purpose, the framework of the consultations, and only then go out and begin them. So I'll list the two, but I'm sure there are many more that we can think of as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stanislav and Justina. The next question is from Rosita, and this is directed to Revaz. So Revaz, the question is, what was your biggest breakthrough or aha moment with community listening experience in Georgia? And what is one thing that you think could be done better?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for this question. I want to say that the biggest breakdown, generally, what I had in my work when I work with community, one is nihilism, that people often don't trust that they can change something. And the other issue is that people don't have enough information about issues what they are discussing. To decide this, the last one is a very good tool named by Citizen Assembly. Right 1 month ago, we made this kind of assembly in Georgia, And what I really like about this, is that in frame of these consultations, the first stage is giving information to citizens who are involving in this process. It means that after first meetings, they know what are they speaking about, what are they discussing about, and it really works. Finally, they are making the better decisions, they are making better ideas, and I think that to give more information and to make some stage of study is a good idea for people.
Thank you so much, Ravaz. Thank you for that, and also thank you, Rosita, for the question. I see that. Yes, Samira.
Sorry, I can't find my raise hand. So my question would be to Julia, because you elaborated on many benefits of community listening. So could you also please share with us what challenges you faced in doing the process of community listening?
Julia, are you able to hear us?
Apologies, we have power outage and I didn't hear the question. I was in the course of reconnecting. Could you please repeat the question?
Absolutely. So I said that, Julia, you elaborated on many benefits of the community listening, and I just wanted to hear also what challenges you have been facing while doing this process. Thank you.
We did have a set of challenges, and the first one is reluctance of a large number of IDPs to talk to our self-governing authorities, to enter into communication with the officials, just due to lack of trust, and nobody believed that something could be done for this group of people. That was the first and biggest challenge. We had to break, to dispel this stereotype, and we had to show that indeed we wanted to do something to improve the situation of IDPs in our community. The next challenge that was in the course of social listening, what we saw is that we lacked psychological knowledge and skills and understanding how you can talk to people that are affected by war, that are depressed, that are in a psychological crisis. We are dealing with people that are traumatized by war. They had to leave their hometowns. A lot of them don't have a house. They have their husbands or relatives that died. Somebody had to leave the relatives there in their home community and come over with children. Really traumatic events and dramatic stories. We were not ready for the people to share their personal stories, and we didn't know how to respond to all of this. And when you talk about listening, social listening with this group of people, people in crisis, in psychological crisis, or people that are psychologically affected, people that have some issues with their mental well-being, then we need to engage respective professionals. Because when you ask the person, okay, what is it that you want or you need, people are trying to explain why they need this or the other thing, and they share their personal stories, and you need to know how to respond, how to help, how not to cry along with this person and do something for the person as well. And that's really very important to know how to behave professionally in these instances. So when it comes to community listening in Ukraine, a very component of this community listening is psychological skills.
Thank you so much for sharing, Yulia. And also thank you, Samira, for the question. I see that we have just one more question on chat, and this is directed to Revaz and Yulia. Do you think that community listening tools can be implemented by the municipality teams independently? And what do you think will be the level of support required from other parties like UNDP or other specialized teams? Yulia or Revaz, would either of you like to take that question?
Давайте я почну.
Yes.
Let me start
Yes.
from my
I can answer about this. I was writing, but on the message, but now I will answer about it. They can use it because it is not. These tools are not very hard. All of them can be used. All of them can be used by representative municipalities by themselves after a short instruction, or if they are hard, maybe after a workshop or after training, they can use these tools. Because in my experience, for example, my organization created several tools for community working, and we gave these tools to municipalities, made from them short workshops or trainings, and they are using it very successfully. I think that all of the tools can be used like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Revaz. Yulia, would you also like to
Моя
step in?
позиція така ж, в принципі, я погоджуюсь з
Let me
паном
re-echo
Равазом,
what
що
Ravaz
цей
was
інструмент
saying.
простий у
This
використанні,
instrument
і
is
кожен
very simple
муніципалітет
to
може
use, and
організувати за
any
участю
municipality
громадського
can
слуховування
easily
і
organize
повторити наш
community
досвід.
listening and sort of,
Але,
do
як на
what
мене,
we
аналітична
did.
підтримка,
But
певна
some kind
така
of
консультаційна
analytical,
підтримка
if
з
you
боку
wish,
UNDP була б
support on the
непоганою,
part of
тому що
UNDP would be
особливо
good to
вперше,
have,
коли
and
тільки
consulting,
громада
especially at the
організовує на
initial
стадії
stages when the
освоєння
community is
цього
at the stage
інструменту,
of
очевидно, що
mastering
підтримка з боку
the
UNDP
tool, then
необхідна.
that's
Ну і
the
також,
stage when
можливо,
UNDP
потім уже
support is
після
critical.
того, як
And
громадське
then at a
прослуховування
later stage,
проведено,
when
то
community listening has
можливо
been
необхідна
completed,
і аналітична
maybe we need
підтримка для
some kind
того,
of
щоб
analytical
звести всі
support to,
результати в єдине
let's
і
say, just
осмислити їх. Можливо,
consolidate
теж, якщо
the
громада сама не
outcome
зможе
and,
це
let's
зробити,
say, process
то
all that. If
підтримка UNDP
community
була б
cannot
непоганою.
do
Дякую.
this on its own, then UNDP support is critically important there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia. Also, to add, towards the end of this course, once you take the course, you'll also find a link through which you can connect with us at UNDP to support you in implementing community listening in your city for your projects. So please do have a look right at the end of the course once you've completed it. Now we can move on to the country office related activities. Also, I want to mention thank you to Muzaffar for that question. And yes, I'll hand over now to each of the country offices for updates on the activities coming up with the Urban Learning Center. We'll start first with Armenia. So over to you, Gerard.
Thank you, Shreya. Greetings from Yerevan, Armenia, dear colleagues. I'll switch to Armenian for a couple of words. Yes, Amsterdam Hayereni.
Okay, proceed to Armenian. I want to thank you to all my colleagues for active involvement. Your active engagement shows that this tool set we are talking about is extremely useful and demanded one by the municipalities and communities. I would like to thank all the technical staff members who helped deliver this course and implement, and it is already available. First, please let me thank Justina, and because with her help, the Armenian municipalities were able to test this toolset for the first time. Let me assure you that all the communities that already started implementing it, they have recorded multiple set of information, knowledge, and diverse opinions, which make the decision-making more efficient and all our further activities and works more participatory and effective. With regard to our further activities, all the course materials will be naturally translated into Armenian, just like all other previous course materials. And depending on the economic growth network members' interests, will perhaps be in a position to organize face-to-face meetings, training courses on this topic. We'll see, we'll monitor what's the level of interest, and in case we have sufficient level, we'll organize relevant workshops to make this tool set and methods more available and accessible to all our community organizations and other partners. Whenever there are questions by Armenian network members, how to support them, we are always ready to listen to your questions and recommendations.
Thank you. Over to you, Shreya.
Thank you, Gerard. Next, we'll have updates from the Azerbaijan country office. So over to you, Javed.
Salam, hörmətli həmkarlar, hər birinizi salamlayıram.
Hello, dear colleagues. I welcome you all. I'm grateful to all the keynote speakers for all insightful presentations. And as far as our initiatives are concerned, after the break, on all the latest developments of the educational center, we're about to complete all the preparatory work, and it won't take too long before we start, shedding a great deal of light on the importance of municipal initiatives. So we're trying to engage as many people as possible. So I reckon that all those new recruits will be engaging with municipalities, and in the foreseeable future, we expect the tete-a-tete, face-to-face training programs, educational programs that will be already starting to arrange. And I hope that for you and all of your colleagues, these forthcoming meetings will be quite insightful and exciting down the road. And I reckon that these platforms, further contributions will be very much palatable indeed across all your areas. So please, I encourage all of you to be supportive of all your colleagues. Please do share this, spread the message, get the message across. In other words, so try to be as encouraging, as engaging as possible in the forthcoming courses. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Javed. And next over to Otar for updates from Georgia.
I would like to greet you. I also want to join my colleagues and extend my gratitude to all speakers for really fascinating presentations. It's absolutely crucial to hear opinion of community in decision making, and this process should by all means be supported at all stages. And this project Players for Economic Growth also supports the process quite actively and does its best to assist maximally municipality in using different tools for communicating community within the frameworks of our different projects. So we used this tool, which is really good practice for Georgia, and I do believe that sharing this information and practice with the other municipalities will also be very helpful. You know that now we are conducting trainings on green and fair transformation, and we are continuing supporting this course as well. We'll distribute it among the members of our network and will promote the implementation of these tools in municipalities. Thank you so much. I wish you success.
Thank you, Otar. Over to the Moldova office for updates.
Thank you. Thank you, Shay. Bună ziua la toți, bună ziua, dragi primari care ascultați.
Good
Noi, în Republica
day,
Moldova, avem o
dear
abordare așa mai interesantă
mayors.
față
In
de
Moldova, we do
aceste
have
cursuri. Noi înțelegem foarte mult necesitatea lor și
the importance of these courses, and we are trying to identify incentives for localities for them to attend these courses, and we do know that you are quite busy, and day by day, maybe such courses are not a priority. However, we were thinking of linking financing this or supporting this initiative in the future potential grants that will be provided, to link it with the mandatory participation in at least 4 courses. So the person applying, we should verify that a person that joins this project should attend 4 courses provided by the Urban Learning Center, but we should also incentivize them, because they are not interested maybe only in the grants, but we thought about other benefits. So tomorrow we are organizing a forum of mayors, and we will promote actively the Urban Learning Center. And following tomorrow's event, so the first 15 localities from the Republic of Moldova that will successfully finish all the courses provided by the Urban Learning Center will receive from our initiative free subscription to ChatGPT or Midjourney, these AI platforms that are quite expensive. So we will pay their subscriptions for the next 12 months. So we will do that for you if you are one of the first 15 persons finishing the courses. This is how we would like to promote this.
Thank you.
In Moldova. Thank you.
Thanks, Valentine. Over to the Ukraine office.
I think it will be me. Thank you, Shreya. I will switch to Ukrainian.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thanks a lot for your presentations of this course. Thanks a lot to the speakers for the very interesting presentations, for sharing their experiences to organizing and implementing community listening tool. We are all very well aware of the challenges Ukraine is facing at this stage, but we have to think about recovery and engage in community and participatory involvement of people in the community is of crucial importance here. And this tool, community listening, could become a very important one among the other tools employed by different communities in Ukraine. As to our plans are similar to other courses, we need to have the course translated, and then there's going to be available on our platform at Urban Learning Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanislav. And thank you all for joining this session. Apologies that we're running a few minutes late, but thank you to all of you who have stayed back till the end. Wishing you a good rest of the week, and thank you for joining.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.